Your favorite surgeon from Grey's Anatomy didn't just walk away. They were running for their lives. One spent years in therapy just preparing to quit. Another checked into rehab while battling addiction that started with back pain. And a young doctor was diagnosed with a mental illness as her body gave out from stress. Behind every dramatic exit was a person who decided no amount of success was worth the price. It all began in 2004 when Shonda Rhimes set out to create something different. She didn't want another typical hospital show. She didn't want women on screen to feel fake. And she certainly didn't want to copy what already existed. Even though she was from Chicago, she chose Seattle for her show to avoid overlapping with ER. But the bigger idea was the people. Women who felt real, honest, and imperfect. Obsessed with surgery shows, fascinated by how doctors could discuss breakups while performing operations, Rhimes wrote her characters without race, gender, or looks in mind, assembling a diverse, unique cast. The show, originally almost called Complications, was moved from a Monday night January debut to a Sunday night slot in March 2005, right after Desperate Housewives, and the timing proved golden. What was meant to be a 4-week test turned into a phenomenon. Viewership jumped from 16.25 million to 17.71 million by episode 2, and by May, Grey's Anatomy wasn't going anywhere. Season 2 cemented its success, drawing over 21 million viewers weekly, and the Super Bowl episode attracted 38 million, establishing the show as a cultural powerhouse. Awards followed: Golden Globes, Emmys, NAACP Image Awards, and cast members like Sandra Oh, Katherine Heigl, Isaiah Washington, Chandra Wilson, and Jesse Williams earned accolades, along with the writers and casting directors. Rhimes' scripts were praised as powerful, and the show's influence seeped into everyday life. Phrases like mech dreamy and mech steamy became cultural shorthand, and fans referred to people as Merediths while using medical terminology in ordinary conversations. When ABC moved the show to Thursday nights at 9 p.m., it dominated for 18 years, becoming a weekly ritual for families and maintaining relevance on streaming platforms like Hulu and Netflix, where 20 seasons were binged in a month in 2024, making it the most streamed drama of the year. Yet behind the fame, tension simmered. In October 2006, filming ran late, and when Patrick Dempsey showed up late, Isaiah Washington lost his temper, shoving Dempsey and yelling, "You son of a bitch." Crew members froze, but the incident escalated when Washington used a homophobic slur aimed at T.R. Knight, who wasn't involved and hadn't publicly come out. The outburst forced T.R. to confront a deeply personal truth in the most public way possible. He later explained on Ellen how the moment shifted him and led to his decision to come out in People magazine, forever changing his life and the dynamics of the show. It wasn't how he wanted to do it, but Isaiah Washington wanted control of his own story, though he didn't make it easy. A few months after the initial scandal, Grey's Anatomy won a Golden Globe, and in the press room, instead of letting controversy die, Washington repeated the slur in front of reporters, claiming, "I did not call TRA __." By repeating it, he ignited another firestorm. GLAAD and ABC issued statements condemning his words, and the backlash was immediate. Washington apologized, admitting his words were wrong, but it was too late. ABC waited until June 2007, nearly 6 months after the Golden Globes incident, to officially fire him. His character, Dr. Burke, was written out dramatically, leaving Christina Yang at the altar. 7 years later, in 2014, fans were shocked when Isaiah returned for a final episode, largely because Sandra Oh insisted on closure for her character, and even GLAAD supported his return due to his public support for marriage equality. In 2025, Shonda Rhimes reflected on the scandal, admitting that the cast who lived through it was still shaken and that the events were still talked about. Meanwhile, Katherine Heigl's career faced its own turmoil. In 2007, she was at the top of the world after winning an Emmy for Dr. Izzy Stevens, but by June 2008, she shocked Hollywood by pulling her name from Emmy consideration, claiming she wasn't given strong enough material that year. Writers felt blindsided, and while Rhimes initially stayed silent, she later delivered a pointed remark to Oprah: "When people show you who they are, believe them." The tension on set grew palpable, and Heigl's time on Grey's Anatomy was nearing its end. In September 2009, Heigl adopted a baby girl from Korea, which she called life-changing, and her priorities shifted. She took a 3-month leave, and though initially supported, her repeated absences and requests to reduce hours tested the crew's patience. By 2010, she asked to be released from her contract 18 months early, officially for her family. But producers had had enough. Her character, Izzy, vanished abruptly, one day present, the next gone, without a dramatic send-off. Writers later claimed they had a plan, but Hagel didn't show up to film it, while her side argued she was in Los Angeles waiting for the call. It was like a breakup where both people stopped talking and one just moved out. When Shonda Rhimes finally released Katherine Hagel from Grey's Anatomy, it was over for good. Izzy didn't come back, not even for a goodbye scene. Fans didn't even get a hint of closure until 10 years later, when Alex Carr left the show to be with her off-screen. The story didn't end there. In 2014, Rhimes gave an interview about her newer shows, saying bluntly, "There are no Hegels in this situation. I don't put up with __ or nasty people," leaving no doubt about who she meant. Hagel's name quickly became a cautionary tale in Hollywood. Producers avoided her, offers dried up, and she was seen as difficult. In a 2021 interview, Hagel admitted the rumors crushed her, noting that criticism had spiraled from honest to difficult to ungrateful almost instantly, forcing her into therapy to cope, leaving her feeling like a piece of garbage. But in 2022, Ellen Pompeo spoke up, saying Hagel had been right all along and ahead of her time, flipping the narrative, though by then it was already too late. Meanwhile, Patrick Dempsey's exit from Grey's Anatomy was another real-life meltdown that had been building behind the scenes for years. By 2015, executive producer James D. Harriott said Dempsey had become a serious problem on set, able to stop production at will and making people nervous just by walking into the room. ABC executives even held private sessions with him. By season 11, Dempsey and Rhimes could barely stand each other, and behind closed doors, crew members noted that some cast felt traumatized, even developing PTSD from the tension he created, as multiple sources confirmed in Lynette Rice's How to Save a Life. Ellen Pompeo, Dempsey's on-screen partner, grew frustrated having to do double the scenes while he complained constantly, a tension worsened by lingering issues from Isaiah Washington's clashes with Dempsey in 2007. When Derek Shepherd was killed off in episode 21 of season 11, it marked the peak of the off-screen drama. Cast and crew breathed a collective sigh of relief. The final dramatic moment came when Rhimes reportedly gave ABC an ultimatum. "If he doesn't go, I go." The choice was clear, and the fate of McDreamy was sealed. Shonda Rhimes had built Grey's Anatomy into a global phenomenon, and losing her would have been a disaster, so the network sided with her. Despite Patrick Dempsey having a contract through season 12, his fate was sealed, and within weeks, his death scene was filmed in total secrecy. When the episode aired in April 2015, millions were stunned. No one saw it coming, but behind the scenes, it had been coming for a long time. Dempsey himself wasn't shocked. After 11 seasons working 10 months a year, 15 hours a day, he admitted in 2016 that it had simply been long enough. The grueling schedule made normal family life impossible, and he often didn't even know what he would be doing the next day. He acknowledged he probably should have left earlier, and executive producer Pride agreed. Dempsey was tired, frustrated, and done, an attitude that rubbed castmates the wrong way, especially as Ellen Pompeo carried far more screen time. In the end, it wasn't just one thing, it was everything. The drama, complaints, and power struggles. On April 23, 2015, the episode How to Save a Life aired, killing off one of television's most beloved characters. Meanwhile, Sandra didn't just walk away from Grey's Anatomy. She had to let go of a piece of herself. Starting in 2011, she began therapy, not because something went wrong, but to prepare for the eventual goodbye to Christina Yang. For 2 years, every session, journal entry, and quiet moment was about preparing to leave behind a role that had shaped her life. After 10 seasons and over 220 episodes, Christina wasn't just a character. She was part of Sandra. By the end of season 9, Sandra told Rhimes, "I'm ready," but the decision had been brewing long before. In March 2012, contract for the original 6 cast members, including Ellen Pompeo, Patrick Dempsey, Justin Chambers, Chandra Wilson, James Pickens Jr., and Sandra, were up for renewal. While the others negotiated, Sandra began considering her next steps. Season 8 had aired, featuring the devastating plane crash, and the show had reached 175 episodes. Even at her peak salary of $350,000 per episode, Sandra spent nights drawing career maps on paper, planning what came next. By December, she had made up her mind. Season 10 would be her last. Her exit wasn't rushed. It took 14 months of planning. Starting in July 2013, Sandra met weekly with Rhimes to craft a send-off that matched Christina's ambition as director of a cutting-edge heart institute in Zurich. Sandra studied real heart surgeons to make it authentic. When the final episode aired on May 15, 2014, Christina danced one last time with Meredith, and then she was gone. By then, Sandra had completed 216 episodes. Her character had endured 24 surgeries, 3 near-death moments, a failed marriage, and countless emotional twists, winning a Golden Globe and earning 5 Emmy nominations. She had nothing left to prove. "I gave it my all," she said, and looking at Christina, she felt a strange sense that it wasn't just Sandra saying goodbye. It was Christina, too. Christina Young wasn't the only one leaving Grey's Anatomy during that turbulent period. Mark Sloan, played by Eric Dane, was fighting his own battles. In 2011, while his wife was pregnant with their second child, he checked into rehab after a struggle that began with painkillers for a back injury. Although he had been sober in his youth, the pressures of fame, the intensity of Grey's, and the downtime during the 2007 writers' strike worsened his situation. Dane later admitted, "I was up longer than I was sober." He eventually got clean and returned to work. But by 2012, it was clear his time on the show was over. In a candid 2024 interview, he said, "I didn't leave so much as I was let go. I wasn't the same guy they hired." There was no dramatic fight or exit, just a quiet decision. He never felt like the McSteamy heartthrob the audience adored. Behind the scenes, he wrestled with identity, addiction, and pressure. Filming The Last Ship exacerbated his depression, and though he had been making $125,000 per episode, he wanted $250,000, while other stars earned less. The network had to choose between keeping fan favorites and cutting costs, and Dane was out. Ironically, later on HBO's Euphoria, he earned $275,000 per episode, more than Grey's ever paid him. Lexi Grey, played by Chyla Lee, left for reasons unrelated to money or fame. At 29, she had just been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, though signs had been present since age 12. With 3 children, one with seizures and another with autism, her body and mind were breaking down. Acting had become her way to escape, but she needed to focus on herself and her family. In the Season 8 finale in May 2012, the plane crash storyline wrote both Lexi and Mark out of the show. Originally, Lexi was supposed to die in the hospital, but Rhimes rewrote it so she perished under the wreckage, with Mark holding her hand as she whispered, "Meant to be," before dying. Mark survived briefly on life support, but was gone a month later. Seattle Grace Mercy West was renamed Grace Sloan Memorial Hospital in their honor. Years later, in 2020, they briefly appeared in a dream sequence while Meredith was in a coma, giving fans a final chance to say goodbye. Similarly, Alex Karev, played by Justin Chambers, disappeared without warning. His last scene aired on November 14, 2019, during the 350th episode, but no one knew it would be his final moment. Subsequent episodes gave vague explanations, like visiting a sick mother, leaving fans without closure. Behind the scenes, Chambers was struggling with stress and depression, which contributed to the abrupt departure of one of the show's central characters, leaving a void for both the story and the fans. Some said Justin Chambers was in and out of a mental health facility, though this wasn't new for him. Back in 2008, he had been hospitalized for a severe sleep disorder that left him getting only an hour of sleep per week. His mind wouldn't stop racing even when his body was exhausted. He'd lie down, get up, and pace for 2 months. He partially blamed how deeply he threw himself into roles, saying, "Be careful what you find." When asked later if he had gone to the famed rehab center Swiss, he neither confirmed nor denied it. Then, on January 10, 2020, everything became official. Chambers announced he was leaving Grey's Anatomy. The statement came unexpectedly, no build-up, no hints. At 50, with a wife and 5 children, he said he wanted to try new things and that it was the right time, but fans were shocked. He had been one of the original 5 cast members, staying through 16 seasons, yet there was no farewell, no press, and no final interview. Ellen Pompeo offered a few words on Twitter, while most of the cast stayed silent. Omar Lever called Chambers honest and humble, saying it was time for him to move on. Only Meredith Grey remained from the beginning. On March 5, 2020, the show revealed Alex's fate. Through voiceover letters, fans learned he had reunited with his ex-wife, Izzy, who had secretly used frozen embryo from her cancer treatment. Alex left everything behind, Joe, Meredith, and his job, to move to Kansas and raise his 5-year-old twins. Fans felt betrayed after 16 seasons, but the show's creators explained they had 3 options: kill him off-screen, pretend he was still around, or reunite him with Izzy, and chose what they thought was kindest. Meanwhile, Sarah Ramirez, who played Callie Torres, exited in 2016 after 10 years, shocking even Shonda Rhimes, who learned about it only days before the public. Ramirez explained that she hit an emotional wall and needed space, but her exit was eased by a pre-film scene showing Callie moving to New York, allowing her daughter to live with both parents. Jesse Williams, who portrayed Jackson Avery, left in 2021 after 12 seasons, crafting his own farewell storyline. Jackson moved to Boston to run his family's foundation and fight racial injustice in healthcare, mirroring Williams' real-life activism. Filming heartfelt goodbye scenes, especially with Meredith, was cathartic, and Williams later starred on Broadway in Take Me Out, earning a Tony nomination. Ellen Pompeo also began stepping back after 18 seasons, reducing her role in season 19 in 2022, likening it to sending a child off to college. She wanted more time for her 3 children and to explore new projects while remaining executive producer and handling voiceovers. Money also played a role. Having negotiated a $20 million deal in 2017, she remained partly involved to ensure continued control over her earnings. During the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, Grey's Anatomy creatively incorporated real-life circumstances into the story. Meredith contracted the virus, fell into a coma, and envisioned deceased characters, including Derek, George, Lexi, and Mark, on a beach, giving fans emotional closure and honoring the show's long history and the heart it still carried.